Hello and welcome to a new video. So last night bushiroad had a stream where they revealed a lot of information about Cardfight Vanguard, but this video will be more specifically focusing on overDress Season 2, so the anime. And let's talk about all the info we got. So last night, right after the stream happened, I released a video giving my very quick reactions, but now that it's been around about a day or so since then, I've kind of compiled that information and we're going to take a bit of a deeper look at what actually got shown off. So let's go ahead and look at that. So first of all, we got the confirmation of Season 3 and Season 4. So we don't actually have any concrete information about Season 3 and 4. All we know is that they will happen at some point. Now the thing is, Season 1 was 12 episodes long and it aired in April, and Season 2 is going to be 13 episodes long and it's airing in October. And we'll talk more about Season 2 in a sec, don't worry. I assume this is going to be a pattern that they're going to continue. So Season 3 will be another 12 episodes in April, Season 4 will be another 13 episodes in October. Obviously, there's going to be some leeway there. Maybe I'm off by an episode or two, but that seems to be what they're doing, of course. And I'm going to go one step further, and whilst it hasn't been confirmed yet, I'm going to assume they're also going to do this with a season 5 and 6 too. I have no proof of that, just going off the pattern, because of course the overDress anime is fitting in with the D era format and mechanics, and with a card game usually there's around 3 or 4 years each time they kind of move to a new mechanic or format or generation or whatever you want to call it, right? So I'm assuming we're going to keep getting 12 episode or so seasons of overdress every couple of seasons, seasons of the year, until we kind of shift to whatever new mechanic or whatever it is we're getting in the game in 3 or so years, so that seems to be what they're doing. Pretty exciting, because one of the things people worried about at first was back when we only had 1 or 2 seasons confirmed, people were worried the show was going to be too short to tell the story that it wanted to tell, and that they were wasting their time with filler episodes. But now that we have around 50 or so episodes confirmed within these first 4 seasons, assuming the first 4 seasons, all end up being a similar length to each other, that's plenty of episodes to tell a story. It's still a bit shorter than an average generation of Vanguard's worth of anime, but it's still a lot of episodes. It's still definitely more than enough time to kind of wrap up this story with Daybreak if they want to. So maybe later we'll go into a bit more of a deeper discussion about what the confirmation of a season 3 and 4 could mean for the anime and what the benefits and downsides of that could be. But for now, we're just talking about the news, so I thought I'd mention that because it's arguably the biggest piece of info we got so far yesterday. So anyway, back in, now let's actually talk about the season 2 news we know. So we got some info here. So starts on October 4th, 2021. Which I don't know if we had this date before. We already knew it was going to air in October, but I don't know for certain if we had the date. But now we do have the date, so cool. And then we have some times, so 8:30 a.m., 3:30 p.m. for these 2 time zones. Now, what's particularly interesting about these time zones is they're different to the time zones we had for season 1. So from what I believe, season 1 aired fairly early in the morning in Japan's time zone. Whereas in Japan's time zone, season 2 is airing much later on in the day, instead closer to midnight. Now, the implication of this is that, of course, the later on in the day you show a television program, the more you can get away with showing. So for example, if you've got darker, more adult material, you're going to air that show later on in the day rather than, right in the morning. And so the implication here seems to be that season 2 is going to get away with showing a lot more darker topics, basically meaning and somewhat confirming that season 2 will indeed have a darker tone than season 1, which does make sense because we are indeed setting up this kind of storyline with Daybreak and these extra backstories with these new characters and stuff. So I can definitely believe the idea that this season may go to darker places than the first season did. Now, of course, my opinion of this is as long as it's good, basically. I don't mind what tone they're going with as long as it's a tone that works with the show. If it feels like they're being dark for absolutely no reason, I probably won't enjoy it. However, if they're being dark in a way that kind of helps this story and makes everything more entertaining to watch, then of course I'm absolutely down for it. So very excited for that. We also got a new teaser, sort of main image to represent, like a poster to kind of represent the season, key visual. And I'm gonna be real, I don't like this one as much as the season one, but this one still looks good anyway, right? Some things I do like about it is I like the color scheme, you know, I like that it's very kind of desaturated and flat looking. You know, it's a lot more kind of gray looking than a usual Vanguard overdress image, which once again lends to the theory that this will be a darker toned season. But there are two things on this poster that are like fully saturated and colorful. The first is the Vanguard card, which makes a lot of sense, you know, Vanguard season after all. And the second is Yuyu's eye, which season 1 played around a lot with the kind of eye imagery. We get a lot of like close-up images of characters' eyes. As far as I'm aware, they're using the eye imagery to kind of like represent the characters, like imagining their fights and stuff. But also in previous seasons, eye imagery was used to kind of represent, you know, Psyqualia. Are they going to bring back Psyqualia? I mean, that's the question everyone's asking, right? So I don't know. I don't necessarily think they will, but this poster does seem to kind of add to that theory at the very least. But at the very least, I like the consistent like focus on characters' eyes anyway. I think it's a cool little visual, and the fact that it's the most saturated thing in this image really does draw your eye towards it, which is really good. I do think like the background and everything looks a little plain. You know, they could have filled that in. I don't know, whatever, it's fine. It still looks good. I just don't like it as much as the season one, mainly because the season 1 poster was very clearly drawn by staff who worked for Clamp, whereas this one looks more like it fits in with the general like animation style of the season itself, which makes it a little less remarkable, I guess. Another thing that does kind of bother me is that this card isn't sleeved, whereas one of the things that's been consistent throughout overdress is this idea of characters sleeving their cards. But who knows, you know, maybe this will become like a moment in a future episode or something. If I had to guess, this card is probably Trickstar, since that seems to be Yuyu's favorite card. But who knows, you know, this poster may have meaning behind it, it may not. Who am I to say, right? It's not like the season 1 poster had particularly much meaning to it other than just showing us the characters. So we got some more info here, as well as some images, but we'll come back to that later. So yeah. So now we got the deck reveals for 2 of the characters. So set 3 of Cardfight Vanguard overdress, Intertwined Stars, introduces 3 new ride lines, one from Dark States, one from Brandgate, and another from Stoicheia. And these cards seem to be lining up with characters from the show. This is something that kind of surprised me when they first announced it, and I don't know why. It really shouldn't have. It's very obvious stuff, right? So Shinobu is going to be using Greedon from Dark States, and I like it. I think it's a pretty cool fit. In fact, Greedon's abilities seem to focus around the idea that you can take a 7th piece of damage before losing instead of the usual 6. And so I think they are very much like setting up for this moment, basically, where like a character is going to be card fighting him and they're going to get him to 6 damage and they're going to be like, yay, I won, great. And then Shinobu will have this kind of like smirk, similar to the image we see here, where he's like, oh, you got me to 6 damage, but you think I lost, huh? You know, like that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I'm a pretty big fan of this match. I'm interested to see Greedon in the anime. And then another card reveal, like another kind of character deck matching sort of reveal we got was Haruka here is using Gravidia from Brandgate. And wow, yes, this is a very Brandgate looking card, huh? It looks a lot like something from kind of like a Link Joker or something. It looks really, really cool. And once again, I do think it's a pretty nice match. I think this card fits with her, at least what we've seen of her so far, quite a lot. However, the thing is, this new set revealed 3 new ride lines, because there's another card called Flagburg Dragon who represents Stoicheia. And that one doesn't seem to have been announced to match with a character yet, which seems to me, it makes me think that we are going to get another character reveal later on throughout the series who will be using Flagburg Dragon. Maybe not. You know, maybe Flagburg Dragon could be like kind of ditched, similar to Hex Orb Sorceress, because Hex Orb Sorceress didn't really show up in season 1. I think she was like the only ride line at that time that hadn't shown up. Maybe Flagburg will kind of be a victim of the same fate. Some people are theorizing Flagburg could be the deck that Megami's brother uses as he like tries to kind of get back into the game again. It's a fairly solid theory. I don't know if I necessarily like believe it or not, but I guess we'll see. But yes, something's happening with Flagburg. I don't know what, but I'm assuming we're going to see a character play him, especially considering that one of the things bushiroad and Kinema Citrus announced about this season is that Season 2 was going to have a higher focus on card fights, as they said that Season 1 was about kind of introducing a lot of the characters, but now a lot of that kind of groundwork has been set. We're going to have a lot more room for plot and card fights, which is very exciting. So then we got a look at vairina exspecta, which makes sense that he's going to be in this season, right? You know, another vairina unit, he's going to be using him. Makes sense. Looks pretty cool though, you know? And then we got like another small look at Moray's deck. Not much new. These like this gun and spear seem to be new cards that we haven't heard of before. The previous image we saw from Moray's start deck seemed to use like a shield and a sword, I think, instead of a gun and a spear. So that's pretty cool. But other than that, we don't really know much. So we'll come back to the start deck at a later date once we've got more info about it. And then we also got the announcement of Booster Pack 4. So usually, like, this isn't really, you know, a video specifically about the card game. We're mainly talking about the anime here. But I will say, you know, Booster Pack 4 could potentially tie into stuff that happens with the anime, because of course, as more cards get revealed, more characters will, you know, use cards from those sets and everything. This releases right at the end of December, so that'll be around, like, if I'm correct, that'll be like right near when the season's finishing up, right? Like, so this will be like close to when the finale would air that this happens. So maybe we could see some finale cards in here, similar to how we saw Danji using some cards from set 2 in the season 1 finale right as set 2 is releasing. That kind of thing. I don't know for certain, but it's a pretty cool and interesting thing to think about. So, okay, we got the like announcement of the opening theme for season 2. We're getting a new opening theme. It's going to be called Start, and it's going to be from a band called like Strawberry, which is basically like a pun, I think, where it's like, it sounds like strawberry, but it's not spelt the same way strawberry is, like strawberry or something like that. I don't know. The thing is that's interesting is, well, first of all, I did some research, as one does, to try and, you know, find out more about this band. And I went onto the YouTube channel, and they're a Let's Play channel. All right, interesting. I'm not joking. I went onto that channel and I saw like gameplay videos for Fall Guys and Among Us. So I guess they're like Let's Plays that also release music. One thing that's really interesting to point out is they do not seem to have much of an affiliation with bushiroad themselves outside of this opening theme, which is particularly interesting because recently, for all of the openings and endings for Cardfight Vanguard's anime, well, they've been using bands that are associated with bushiroad, whether that be D4DJ or Bang Dream or that kind of thing, or Argonavis, right? So this is the first time in a while that I'm aware of anyway that we've been using a non-like bushiroad affiliated band, which I kind of miss. And the other thing too is that, as you can probably guess from this image, the small part of the opening we heard in the trailer sounded very lighthearted. And yeah, you could probably guess that from this image, huh? It sounded very like cheerful and lighthearted, way more like happy-go-luckier than the first opening, which is weird because everything else we've seen from this season seems to be pointing towards a more kind of serious season, one that where season 1 was kind of like the lighthearted setup, and this is where we get the more kind of important plot stuff. So I don't know if that's going to be like an important juxtaposition, or if that's something that's going to make more sense as it progresses, but it's something that's worth pointing out. We also got the announcement of the ending theme. It's going to be Fateful by Morphonica. Now, if I'm correct, this is Bang Dream. There's so many of these, like Bang Dream, D4DJ, like Project Sekai, like there's so many of these different things that as someone who isn't really a fan of any of these things, it's difficult for me to keep track of, but I'm pretty sure this is one of the Bang Dream ones. And it's an important one because it has Megami's voice actress in it. I don't know which of these 5 girls is Megami's voice actress, but so basically Megami's voice actress is going to be, I think, singing the new ending theme, so take of that what you will. And of course, to end things out, we're going to take some closer looks at the trailer, mainly some images and stuff, since I watched the trailer in real time in my previous video. So we've got Toya, Cardfight, and Yuyu here. One thing I did notice in this trailer, of course, the trailer is very, very short, and we saw very little footage from it, but Toya does seem to be a bit more like cheerful and happy here than he was in basically any of his appearances in season 1. So that's kind of shown that maybe some time's passed. He's had some kind of time to like get in this new headspace of like taking things a little less seriously, or just being happier in general, more accepted by Blackout. I'm gonna go ahead and assume, by the way, that all of this animation we saw from this trailer is going to be stuff in episode 1 specifically, mainly because animation takes a lot of time, and usually when we get big trailers for new animes and stuff like this, it usually only tends to show footage from the first episode, because by this point, only really the first episode is the one that's like close to completion, you know? Who knows how far through the other episodes are gonna be, but probably not far enough to show stuff like this, right? So then we get like this really interesting, probably the most like speculation worthy part of the trailer so far, and that is that Megami and Danji are card fighting each other in what looks like to be like a train or an airplane or something along those lines. It could be a train for sure. And yeah, they're card fighting each other, which shows that Danji's still willing to card fight. That's great. Looking forward to seeing more Danji card fights. But also their outfits too, is they look very smartly dressed. As I've already found out, they're certainly not school uniforms, so they're going to some kind of event. My first, of course, reaction was maybe it's a wedding of some kind. Another sort of theory is that since Megami's like brother and family in general are very classy and very very fancy, and Megami's brother specifically seems to have something to do with like construction laws and stuff, since we already established in episode 4 he played a role in like whether or not Wonder Hill got demolished. Maybe they're going to some kind of like grand opening because of that, you know, that kind of thing. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that this is happening at the same time the Toya and Yuyu card fight is happening. My prediction, my theory, bear in mind this might not happen, is that episode 1 is going to be about Megami and Danji going to whatever event this kind of is. Megami, from her expression here, looks a bit nervous because of like her eyebrows and everything. They're going to this event, they're kind of nervous about it. Danji's sort of like reassuring her that it's going to be okay for whatever reason. And whilst this is playing out, we're like cutting to Yuyu and Toyo just card fighting for fun, just to pass the time, you know. We get cool Sakuga scene, which we'll get to in a sec. And then the episode will like end with them arriving to whatever like event they're supposed to be going to, and big shock twist reveal, Danji's gonna run into Mireille, who is going to be revealed to be his sister. All of that is like speculation on my part. So I don't know if any of this will be true. In fact, I kind of doubt it. But in my mind, you know, I've spent basically the full day or so since the trailer released thinking about this and rewatching it in my head, and that seems to be the plot line that fits this the best, because then in episode 2 we can maybe get like a Danji versus Mireille card fight where Danji like loses, and now it's up to like Blackout to fight against Daybreak, and then that'll be what the actual season will be about. The actual season will be about Blackout and Daybreak like fighting each other, and we've already established that Danji is the strongest card fighter we've met so far in this anime, so like beginning the season with having him suffer like a devastating loss would make a lot of sense. And of course, Moray's start deck is releasing around the time that this season starts, so we're gonna have to see her card fight at some point near the beginning of the season. So in my opinion, that all lines up pretty well. Yeah. And then, of course, we also get like some cool like Sakuga scenes and stuff with Toya and Yuyu sort of card fighting and everything. So not much really to say there, other than it looks really nice. I'm a big fan of this animation, yada yada yada. You get the deal by now. So yeah, that's basically everything we know about about season 2 so far. That's all the info I could gather up. Of course, if I'm missing anything important, let me know in the comments. And let me know what you think and what your theories are in regards to Season 2 of Cardfight Vanguard Overdress. I'm interested in hearing what you all have to say. So for now, that'll be me. That's basically all I have to say for this video. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more info and news as we learn more and more about the Vanguard Overdress anime. And that's basically all I have to say for now. So I'll see you later. Be sure to subscribe and everything again a second time. If you do it a second time, you'll actually cancel out the subscription and unsubscribe again, so maybe don't do that. And yeah, I'll see you later. Remember, for every statement, there's an asterisk. See ya.